Okay, next up is servo installation. So we've got 5 servos total to mount. Got a throttle servo which will go here in the frame, and again I'll put them in and show you. We've got 1 cyclic servo on the left side of the frame that goes in the 2 servo position. So actually, let me just show you. So this is the left side of the frame. Throttle servo goes here. The cyclic servo that goes on this side of the frame goes on this set of holes right here. All right. Then we have our tail servo here. All right. Then we're going to have another cyclic servo at the farther front forward position, and then your elevator servo, cyclic servo, will go in here. Now remember, this bottom block we left loose so we could adjust it to fit our holes. Also remember the adjustable screws for these holes for the tail servo and the throttle servo. All right, so what I would do is while you're putting your servo in is loosen that screw up, allow that bracket to float, get the screws to line up, get them tightened down, and then at that point lock tight and tighten your adjustment screw. Now on these blocks here, same kind of thing. Make sure they're loose to move around. I'm going to have to loosen mine up a bit. And make sure that your screws align. What you don't want to do is force those screws in at an angle, thus possibly deforming the servo case, binding the gears internally. So that's why these mounts were adjustable. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get my servos in. We'll come back and review. Oh, by the way, you'll need this bag with your servo straps. Now, I'm not going to use eyelets. I'm just going to use the rubber grommets. That's the purpose of these servo straps. The straps will compress the rubber, keeping the servo from moving around too much, but allow the rubbers to dampen as needed. So again, don't forget your rubbers. You don't need the brass eyelets. And then in this bag here are the screws for mounting your servos, so you'll want to get those out. Okay, I got my throttle servo in. I just wanted to demonstrate what I meant. By the way, the screw bag that holds the servos, remember, there's 8 machined screws. Those go in these metal servo holders. All right. The self-tappers, the ones with the coarse thread, of course, will be going into plastic. I know that seemed relatively understood, but so at this point now I can remove this adjustment screw. All right. Make sure all my screws were lined up nice and neat. Don't forget the Loctite. By the way, on these machine screws, don't forget the Loctite as well. All right. And then now that our adjuster's adjusted, we can go ahead and tighten the screw up. Don't forget to do that. What you don't want to do is have that fall out on you later due to vibration or something. So Loctite that, get that in. So again, I'm going to do the same thing now with the rudder servo. And we'll go ahead and get the other servos in. If I run into anything, maybe on this adjustment, I'll come back and talk to it. Okay, so we got them in. So let's take a look. Throttle servo, output shaft toward the top of the heli. One of the cyclic servos, output shaft toward the top of the heli. Note its location. Pardon me. Okay, we've got the rudder servo, output shaft toward the motor or clutch bell. Another cyclic servo, output shaft toward the top of the heli. And this servo here, which I believe is going to be the elevator, is going to be with the output shaft toward the bottom of the helicopter. So that's the only one. Again, tighten these up. Don't mash the rubbers until they're like, you know, looking like they're ready to squeeze out. But you don't want them so loose that your servo moves around too much, okay? You want it fairly firm. So there's a happy medium on how tight you tighten those, all right? And with these CF straps, that really keeps them from rocking around. I really like those, by the way. Charlie's always kind of done that. When you just use washers, you know, the thing can rock more on the washers than the straps. So I think that's cool. But anyway, so that's it. Servos are installed. That will finish this segment, and we'll come back and start doing links and going from there. Oh, by the way, one last thing. I didn't talk about this, and I figured I would. Again, I left all these screws loose for this bottom servo mount bracket. I got the screws in and put them all in, adjusted the bracket because it can move around a little bit, and just made sure those screws were straight down in. Then I went around and tightened up the 4 screws on this side and 4 screws on this side for the motor mount. Again, we don't want that thing, you know, compressing the servo cases or causing the screws to be at an angle. We want everything to fit nice and neat. Anyway, thought I'd just close on that, and we'll do our links, come back, and continue on.